Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Hello, and welcome to Enter the Bunker for part 2 of determination. We're going to go over how to be more determined.
That's a Kellyism.
Is that not a word?
To be more determined.
Oh yeah, that's the word. That's fantastic. All right, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
Let's get to it. Number 1, define success for yourself. 2, keep your expectations high but attainable. And 3, work hard and persevere. So let's go into each one a little bit of detail and talk about it. Number 1 was define success for your life. It is your life, therefore it is you who determines your success. You're more likely to be determined to meet your goals if it is something that you truly believe and not something you're being told to do. Working to attain your own version of success and no one else's will be the key to having the determination to be the best version of yourself and to meet the goals you have set out to achieve. You're more likely to be determined if it's something that you truly believe. Do you think that's true for everyone?
It's 100% true for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Only because think about the things in terms of your goals.
Right.
There's different reasons that people set these goals. So if this goals was set because of something external, like, you know, your parents, you grew up with your parents saying, oh, we want you to be a doctor one day. And like one day you're going to be a doctor, and it's always that. So what happens? You end up setting goals to try to achieve that, but it's not what you really want, right? It's what they want. So then you end up not having the perseverance to actually achieve these things in some cases.
Right.
But what should be happening is it's really coming from something from within. It's called intrinsic interest, right? And this permeates in everything. With what we're interested in. Like, think about the hobbies you have. These are the things that you actually care about. Like, these are the things that you enjoy, right? And if that's not coming from a place from within, then you just don't end up getting the perseverance to actually do anything with them and actually have anything achievable.
Yeah, I guess I might be seeing it in an optimistic way. No, I'm just saying that because last week was optimistic. But I guess I'm thinking more along the lines, so say, you kind of got me thinking. You say your parents want you to be a doctor.
Right.
But it's not what you really want it to be.
Right.
But you want, your determination is still to, you want to make them happy. So you still want to give, like, that's your determination. They want you to be a doctor. So what's going to make me happy? Maybe I don't want to be like a home doctor like they want me to be, but I want to be a brain surgeon.
Okay, so they want to become a brain surgeon. Parents wanted them to be
a home doctor.
But then they went on to be a brain surgeon.
Right, because I guess so that person truly believed in that they wanted to be a brain surgeon, but their parents kind of like helped them along that way. So it wasn't their full decision to be some sort of doctor.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're talking about nature versus nurture kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's true that the environment that you grow up in has a big impact in terms of how successful you're going to be in life.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
I've actually like read books that talked about like these major moguls that we know in history. It isn't necessarily because of everything they did for themselves. It's because of the family they were born into, the time that they were born into, and like just the timing of it all allowed them to have an environment where they would be able to be very successful with what they did.
Right. We've kind of touched on this in previous
we've talked about that in the past, right? So same thing here is that, but when it comes to your goals, right, it's important that it's something that drives you, but then your environment is also going to determine a lot of that. So what you're saying about if your parents were all about doctors, they were probably doctors too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then you're probably going to end up, and it's the same thing like when it comes to sports. You know, if you had parents that are like all into hockey, you're going to end up playing hockey, right? So that environment tends to influence us in terms of how we're going to determine our goals. But those goals at the end really have to come from us, you know, and if they don't, that's where you're just going to end up in a place where you're going to be really unhappy. Right. So yeah, it could be where, they want you to be doctors. They're doctors too. And they want you to be a family doctor, but you decide, you know what, I love the brain. I just want to be a brain surgeon and all this kind of stuff. Then that's what you need.
Yeah.
So in that case, that's what you need. You need to have that internal drive for what specifically you want to do. So at some point, they're going to have to sit down with the parents and say, look, mom and dad, I just don't want to be a general surgeon. I want to be a brain surgeon, you know, sort of thing. And you would think that parents would be happy with that, but
they might not be.
They may not be, right?
But they could be ecstatic as well.
Have to stand on what you want.
And
right?
I think maybe when approaching them, maybe that's what you could say, like, this is what I dreamed of. This isn't your dream. This is my dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You kind of touched base on kids there. I'm just going to tell a quick story before we get into point 2. But so I grew up, me and myself, with soccer. I did some cheerleading, a couple basketball, some track. But my brother was hockey, and he was rep hockey. So we were traveling every weekend, going on everywhere. It's like all over the province, some other province, New Brunswick, all the time. Anyway, so I grew up. I have 2 boys. So what do I want to put them in? Hockey.
Of course.
But my youngest wants, so energetic, like cannot wait to play, like watches it, just wants to ask questions, learns. My oldest, who I wanted to put him in it, was like, no, I don't want to go in it. I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that. And like has no interest in it whatsoever. So obviously the determination of my young one who wants to do it versus my oldest has no determination because he cares less. He wants to play soccer. He doesn't care about hockey.
Interesting.
So so it's good that we place that because it kind of opened my mind up a little bit.
Yeah. But the truth is that when it comes to kids, there's the nature nurture.
Yeah. Like I could be the forceful parent and put them, say, I don't care. You're joining hockey. It's easier for me as a parent.
Kids come pre-programmed.
Yeah.
Okay. Like there's a certain amount of who they are.
Yeah.
Right. And so because of that, you have to have some flexibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a perfect example where you have 2 kids, right? Same family, same environment.
Yeah.
But they both have different paths they want to take.
Yeah.
Right. And so it has nothing to do with the environment in that case.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And when we're on the topic, I might as well keep going, but I registered my youngest for baseball, took him to 1 practice, and by the end of it, my oldest wanted to join on his team too. So just by watching him, but I think maybe, I don't know if it's a nervousness or just maybe he doesn't have enough determination to do something. But then once watching it, he was like, I'm determined to do that, and he wanted to do it. But I didn't force him. I wasn't like, you're taking baseball.
Right.
He went to 1 practice and then he was like, oh, I think I'm going to like this. And he ended up being one of the best on his team. So,
yeah.
And hitting the ball, all these big hits. And I was like, yeah.
So really what you did was you created the environment to allow them to be able to actually decide.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what matters in the end.
Yeah. Number 2, keep your expectations high but attainable. Always aim high. Think about your goals and what you want to achieve. Then stretch them a little bit and then a lot of it. It is common to underestimate yourself, but growth doesn't come if you don't push yourself. Be careful not to push too far, because if you set too lofty of a goal, you could set yourself up for failure. But don't be afraid to push a little beyond what you think you are capable of. That's an interesting one. I guess this is know your limits.
Yeah.
Is that it? I don't even feel like I would honestly I'd rather push myself too far, grew up. That's how I learned the hard way.
We're talking about the fear of failure here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many times do I talk about your comfort zone?
Yeah.
And then there's your
die zone.
Right?
Yeah.
And where do you want to be? Like real success happens in your die zone, right? Because you're going to be constantly pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone,
right,
to a place where you're just like, oh, I die if I do that. Well, guess what? That's where success happens, right? So
I love things like that.
At the end of the day, you keep on. So yeah, it's like, for example, maybe you want to be an astronaut or something, like something really far out. Which is an astronaut, I guess, because it's out of this world.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say
something like that. You might have challenges with actually achieving that. Right. Understandable, but if you can have whatever it is that's achievable, like sorry.
I have an example.
You have an example?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe it'll get you going. I'm not a fan of like talking to people that I don't know, like going in somewhere and like, I don't know, just striking up a conversation or asking somebody for something, or it's just it's not my comfort zone. I wouldn't say it's necessarily my die zone per se, but it's getting out there.
Right.
But every time that I did it the other day, and I was nervous. I honestly can't even remember what it was for, but I was nervous, And after I was done talking to them, I came out of it and I was like, man, I'm a good people talker. Like, that's just how I thought. And then I was like, why do I get so nervous? And so it's not my comfort zone. Like I said, it's not my die zone, but why do I get so, it's like, but then you feel good.
Right.
You're like, I did that. I didn't want to do it, but I did that. And like, I did good. I'm a good people talker. Like, they were so happy. They were smiling the whole time. Why do I get nervous? I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a good example of like, there's your comfort zone, there's your die zone. Well, your discomfort zone.
Discomfort,
is more like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the more you're practicing that, your comfort zone is now just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm recognizing like, oh my gosh, that wasn't so bad. Like, I am a good people talker.
Yeah.
I'm good with people.
So it's good to push yourself. It's good to stretch a little bit, because it's going from your comfort zone to your die zone is really hard for a lot of people.
It is.
A lot of people can go from the comfort zone to discomfort.
Right.
Right. So I think what this is saying is that the practice in terms of having determination is to put yourself in places where you have discomfort, which is what you were talking about. Is just talking to people. Yeah. And that's common for a lot of people.
Oh, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you practice that regularly, you start to have the same kind of reaction, right? You start to feel that like, wow, actually I did pretty good, you know?
And
like,
going into it even, I'm like, I know that I'm okay at this, but like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's good to go, like you said, go in that discomfort zone.
Yeah.
But what does it say? It does say here, like, stretch them a little bit, but not too far. Careful not to push too far. You think it's okay to push that far, right?
I think the only reason you'd be careful is just because
I guess
the idea that you would be disappointed.
Yes,
and then you feel like, oh well, I just can't do anything, and then you just end up just shutting down.
Yes.
Right? I don't think people who listen to our podcast are that type of people.
No.
I think that as they go through these building bricks,
they
realize they can do a lot more than they thought.
Yes.
And so I think the people listening to us now, they realize that, like, you know what, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to work through it. Failure isn't everything. Failure is what we learn from, and it's the opportunity for us to grow. So I think that if we just push ourselves into the discomfort zone and do something every single day where we're doing something that is not comfortable for us. I think there's a song, I don't remember what it's called, but it says, in one of the lyrics, it says, do something that scares you every day.
Okay.
You know? I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure we're going to figure it out later, but that's what they should be doing.
Say you're planning to do something that's in your die zone.
Sure.
One trick that I actually do, I don't know if it's good, but is I always think the worst going into it. Like, I think of where I want to be and like the good things of it too, but I also think of the complete opposite of that good. So I think the worst. So then when you're in that die zone and when you're all done and it all happened, usually what happened isn't as bad as what you thought.
Right.
So then you're like, oof, this wasn't too bad.
Right.
That's all I was going to say. Okay. So number 3, work hard and persevere. Now that you have defined success for yourself and set high but attainable goals for yourself, put in the work.
Yes.
That's pretty self-explanatory, I feel like.
So goals are dreams.
Yep.
Right. So there's actually a saying that I learned a long time ago from my years as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's different kinds of people. There's dream fakers.
Okay.
Okay. They're the ones that go on and talk all the time, that they're going to do all these things.
But they never do anything. Okay.
There's dream bakers.
Okay.
Okay. I got some in the oven. I got something going on.
Yeah.
But
it never goes
baking.
anywhere.
They're always baking.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's dream makers. So those are our listeners. The dream makers are actually taking the action, putting in the work, and actually doing what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. And actually having a goal and a vision to work towards.
Yeah.
So the dream makers are the ones that are making the difference and actually achieving in life.
So is it dream fakers, bakers, and makers?
There's fakers, bakers, and makers in life, yes.
Fakers, bakers, and makers.
And the thing is as you talk to people, if you understand that, you become a little more discerning when you listen to people and when they talk about their dreams and so forth. Remember, so not too long ago, we had somebody come here to the bunker who was all excited because they wanted to record something in our studio.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you could see it in his eyes. He was so excited. He's like, my dreams are coming true.
I know.
Right?
Kid gave me goosebumps.
Because when he came, he was like all excited and he wanted to do this. And you know what? I was totally supportive. Right? Yeah. It was totally my call to allow him to use our studio or not. So I was like, yeah. And then we even, we got things set up for him and everything. And he said, yeah, I just need to be able to come at this time. And I said, no problem.
Yeah.
I told everybody, let him in at this time. And we got it all set up. And what happened?
He just stopped coming.
He just stopped showing up, right?
Yeah.
So he was not necessarily, I would say, a dream faker, but he was a baker,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he had something going on,
Yeah.
you know, and even as we were, and when you look back at talking to him, he would even show things that were happening on his Instagram, and he's like, I got this going on, and oh, now I got the studio, and
Yes.
so he's the baker.
Yeah.
But then he never actually makes it,
Yeah.
right? So
Hopefully he does eventually.
one day he'll graduate.
He was
because
still young.
at some point, I mean, we all go through this, like, think of it like cycles,
Yeah.
right? Like at some point when you started, you weren't really a maker. Like you started out with not really understanding these building bricks and these principles to being successful in life. But now, you know, after so much experience and you know, knowledge and experience, you start to achieve these things.
Yeah.
So I think that so it's okay to meet these people in life, like the fakers and the bakers, because they're just at that stage,
right? Yeah.
But you got to be discerning and like not always believe, like when you when you get to a certain level, you start to understand, like, okay, this guy's just a faker right now, you know, so I'm not going to I'm not going to give like $100,000. I'm not going to invest $100,000 into his dream because he's just faking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the challenge that investors have all the time of determining who are the real makers and who are the fakers.
Right. It would probably be harder to determine who are the bakers versus the makers when you're investing.
Yeah, especially.
Because like I feel like fakers would be easier to point out after a few questions. Like you.
Yes.
But then the bakers between the makers, like that would be a little bit harder.
Yeah, because it looks like they have things happening. Yeah. So it's almost like, looks like there's a show going on, but there's nothing there.
But there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you everybody so much for joining us for part 2 of Determination. Our next week's building brick is faithfulness. Please be sure to join us there. And why not go check out our new website, www.enterthebunker.com. Join up. Sign up. Join up. Do your thing.
Put the work in.
Yeah.
See you then.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.